You. ABC News just suspended Whoopi Goldberg. I'm not making that up. ABC News just suspended Whoopi Goldberg. Think about that sentence for a second. I love Whoopi. I do. But think about this headline for a second. ABC News just suspended Whoopi Goldberg, apparently for what she said about the Holocaust on The View, which I believe was the original name for The View, the Holocaust. So what more do you need to know today? ABC News suspends Whoopi Goldberg. America is a news desert. We are ill-informed, and we are not safe in this country because of sentences like ABC News suspended Whoopi Goldberg. I mean, seriously? Whoopi's an employee of ABC News? The idea that the market will provide a public good like the news better than, say, our government or government-funded news is absurd. And it's made evident by the sentence, ABC News just suspended Whoopi Goldberg. I mean, the BBC, the CBC, Al Jazeera, these are government news organizations for the sake of news. And that's better. It's more trusted than news for the sake of profit. When you rely on the market to deliver news, you end up with sentences like ABC News suspends Whoopi Goldberg. This is how you end up with Americans believing COVID isn't killing us, but the Taliban is. The View is not news, but ABC News says it is. Somehow The View is under the purview of ABC News. Whoopi Goldberg opining on race and its relation to the Holocaust is not news unless you're doing a story about the decay of news in America. I like Whoopi, and I think I actually might agree with what Whoopi said. I don't know if you've been following this, but Hitler made the Holocaust about race. And I'm not sure Jews are a race. I'm not sure race is even a real thing. I'm pretty sure the idea of race was invented to justify slavery. I'm pretty sure dividing people into race is a pseudo-scientific 19th century conceit designed to justify attributing intelligence and or personality traits to people who look a certain way or who come from a specific place. I think Whoopi's right. I'm pretty sure use of the word race is racist. I think. So for somebody to say the Holocaust was about race is to perpetuate the lies told by Hitler to justify the Holocaust. Hitler said the Jews were a race. I went to Orthodox Hebrew school. I grew up surrounded by survivors of the Holocaust. I always assumed Judaism is a religion, not a race. If you believe, I think, Jews are a race, then you believe what Hitler believed, that Jews look a certain way, sound a certain way, think a certain way, and they share not just physical, but intellectual characteristics. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure Whoopi is right. Race is a social construct created by racists. Race is racist. And to say the Holocaust, I think, to say the Holocaust was about race is to pretty much parrot Hitler's thinking, and even much worse, perpetuate it. I think it's dangerous to call the Jewish people a race. I think it's dangerous to call any group a race, especially when we're finding racism on the rise here in America. Whoopi's last name is Goldberg, and she's black. From day one, she pretty much signaled to the entertainment industry that by traditional racist standards, Judaism isn't a race. It's a group of people. Sometimes I think we're dangerously inbred. That's a whole. I'm not going to say we're dangerously inbred. Occasionally, I've said that about my people, but we are a group of people who share the same religion and would rather die than convert. I think a lot of Jews would rather die than be made to convert. That's not a race. That's a neuroses. It's not a race. If you put a gun to my head and said, if you don't convert, I will shoot you, I like to think I'd say, go ahead and shoot, because then you would hear from my lawyer, and oh boy, are you in trouble now? That's what I would say. I think a lot of Jewish people would rather get shot than be forced to convert. So I'm not sure Judaism is a race. I think it's a choice forced upon us by tradition, by nurture. And I'm also pretty certain that the term race is racist. I may be wrong, but as far as I can tell, Jews are a people, not a race. We all don't look the same. Thank God. Thank God Jews don't look the same. Did you ever see the Nazi propaganda leaflets? Could you imagine if we looked the way Hitler said the Jewish race looked? We don't all act and think alike. 2 Jews, 3 opinions. We do not agree on anything. And we're not all from the same place, unless you want to say the Middle East, but we're all from the Middle East, so that's not saying anything. I'm pretty sure that the Palestinians and I are part of the same race, if you want to go by geography and the way and language and how some of us look. I'm pretty sure Judaism is not a race. And if it is a race, then I think the Palestinians are part of the same race. I don't know. I think this is, look at the people from Israel. They have black Jews, white, all types of Jews. And I'm just not getting race off Judaism. The same way I don't get race off Anglo-Saxons, Caucasians. I'm not getting race when it comes to Judaism. I'm getting a strong and proud belief in the Torah, a belief in the promise of justice for the here and now, period. But the most important thing, ABC News, they could tackle this subject. I happen to think they're way more important topics. ABC News should be tackling this subject with geneticists and anthropologists and professors and scientists, not Whoopi Goldberg, not Joy Behar or Meghan McCain or whomever they have on the show these days. Again, I'm jumping ahead. Maybe you don't know what Whoopi said. Whoopi Goldberg said she drew backlash on Monday morning when she insisted that the Holocaust was, quote, not about race, unquote, but rather, quote, man's inhumanity to man. And they want her fired for saying that the Holocaust was not about race, but rather man's inhumanity to man. Again, I grew up surrounded by Holocaust survivors. There are two things I was raised on: the Holocaust and the Kennedy assassination. If I don't pick up another book about the Holocaust or the Kennedy assassination, it will be too soon. A day doesn't go by that I don't think about the Holocaust. I believe the Holocaust not just can happen again, it is happening again, just not on the grand scale that the Germans were able to pull off. The Germans perfected genocide thanks to our friends over at IBM. The Germans perfected genocide thanks to our friends over at IBM. The Germans got up close and personal with their genocide. We drop bombs. We don't dirty our fingers when it comes to wiping out people. That's unseemly. But the Germans, they rolled up their sleeves and they were hands-on with their genocide. So Whoopi is in trouble. She should not be in trouble. She said it wasn't about race. With all the mass slaughter that's going on right now, this is what ABC News is getting hanged up on. Whoopi Goldberg saying the Holocaust wasn't about race. Really, this is the hill you're going to die on. Whoopi said the Holocaust wasn't about race. It was about man's inhumanity to man. Oh, the inhumanity of such a statement. Oh, the inhumanity. She said the Jews are not a race. Cancel her. Fire her. She, what? Trivialized the Holocaust by saying it was about inhumanity and not race? You want to suspend Whoopi and fire her because she didn't parrot Adolf Hitler's talking points? Race isn't real. Stop it. Race isn't real the same way ABC News isn't real. Just stop it. It's 2022. We should be grateful that nobody on The View yet is denying the Holocaust. We're only a few clicks away from Holocaust denying and talking about the IQs of people of color. Let's just be grateful that they haven't gotten to Holocaust denying and the IQs of various races. Wake me when The View is arguing over whether or not the Holocaust actually happened. What does any of this have to do with the millions of Americans who don't have enough food, who are being evicted? 40 million Americans have what is called rent insecurity. What does this have to do with the millions of Americans who don't have access to health care or drinkable water or education or feel secure enough so they don't have to worry about their kid getting hit in the head by a stray bullet? That's what news is. That's what news is. But that requires actual reporters and not comedians turned actor turned pundit. She's not a professor. There's not a single professor on The View. You have lawyers, like we need to hear from lawyers. We don't have any more. It's not news. It's not news.